yapıyoruz. Benim sorum şu olacak Sayın Zizek. Siz bağımsızlığa önem verdiğinizi, bağımsızlığı önemsediğinizi söylediniz. Ben yani bu soruya sizin şöyle cevap vermenizi bekliyorum. Hani elbette karışamam sizin vereceğiniz cevaba. Yani Stalinist bir bakış açısıyla değil de Leninist bir bakış açısıyla Lenin'in ulusların kaderlerini tayin hakkı göz önünde bulundurarak cevaplamanızı istiyorum. Orta Doğu'da bir Kürt halkı var, 40 milyon bir topluluktur ve dünyanın en ezilen ulusudur. Bunu en iyi siz bilirsiniz. Bağımsızlığa önem verdiğinizi söylüyorsunuz. Kürtler de bağımsız bir millet olmalı mı? Marksist bir bakış açısıyla bunu cevaplarsanız sevinirim.
Teşekkür ederim. I can easily respond you, especially as a Leninist, because we can accuse Lenin of whatever we want, terrorism and so on. But in national question, he was radical. You know that Lenin even had a debate with Rosa Luxemburg. Rosa Luxemburg's position, to simplify it, was Russia should give autonomy or independence to small nations, but only if the good guys win there, you know, our allies. And then he said, no, it doesn't matter. Finland, Baltic republics, even if reactionaries take power there, we should give all of them freedom. Which is why it's important to know already in 22, Stalin attacked Lenin as bourgeois liberal nationalist because of this. And this is why it made me a little bit sad when I saw a year ago or when demonstrators in Kiev destroying Lenin's statues. Okay, I understand them. Lenin was for them Soviet Union. But nonetheless, do you know that Ukraine as a nation didn't exist before Bolsheviks? In Tsarist Russia, they didn't have their language. It was prohibited. Only Russian was, and so on. It's Bolsheviks in 1920s that established Ukraine as a full nation with their own language, universities, literature, and then Stalin counterattacked in early 30s. So precisely as a Leninist, I would say I don't know in detail the situation, but I would say I don't know what the concrete solution should be, but definitely not only freedom to Kurds, but even some kind of, I don't know how to do it, formally, informally, unification. Why not Kurds in Syria, in Iraq, in Turkey, somehow? I'm not saying anything against any of the existing states. And now I must apologize to my Turkish friends, because when I was here years ago, I made some unfortunate remarks about progressive aspects of Ottoman Empire, and they thought, are you crazy, and so on. No, but what I found attractive in the idea of Ottoman Empire is precisely that it was multinationally much more open, confederate. Don't forget that the two crimes, as it looks, committed by Turks, Armenian genocide and the treatment of Kurds, as far as I know, this began precisely with young Turks, that is to say, when Turkey wanted to imitate a modern Western nation state. So, you know what I mean? I'm not idealizing. It was a decadent regime, horrible. I don't have any soft spot for Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire is for me just the same as in my country, Austrian-Hungarian Empire. It was horror, but it was a much more tolerant multinational unity. In this sense, of course I support it. I just don't know enough to, I don't know what would have been for me the best solution. What solution, but I'm now totally dreaming, would have been Kurds from the north of Iraq joining Turkish Kurds and making an autonomous republic, maybe within a larger Turkey, maybe I don't know with whom. You know, this is political contingency, but absolutely, I absolutely support it. I think that Lenin made this clear, that the only true internationalism goes through this recognition of nations' rights. And Lenin also, we should also be very careful about something else. Quite often, when you have a big nation and a smaller oppressed nation, this nation can be even worse towards its own minorities down there. Like my Canadian friends, and they are French Canadians, Quebec, told me that although Quebec people wanted independence against English oppression, but they are much more brutal towards Eskimos and Indians, towards their own, you know. So here things are very sensitive, and I'm here pretty open. I think that national ethnic autonomy functions perfectly in global capitalism, so I don't think there is even anything very revolutionary here. I think that the frame of global capitalism is no longer nation state. So I don't see, some people even think, maybe they are right, that we are approaching a model of nation states, which is the mega success story today. Singapore, which is a nation state. I heard in China that there are tendencies in the more developed South, Shanghai and so on, to develop it. So again, I'm now just turning in circle, repeating myself, but my point would have been that maybe this is a dream, but a truly great Turkish politician should have invented a formula in which full autonomy of Kurds would make Turkey stronger. It can be done, I claim, in a way, with intelligent politics. It's false dilemma. Either you screw the Kurds or they threaten your identity. This is not necessary. This choice is necessary only within a certain logic. So yes, all my sympathy. What can I say? I mean, no? Now I will speak as a Stalinist. I like this little bit of applause so that when you will publish the transcription of this talk, you will answer like, you know, in Stalin's speeches, then in brackets. Comrade Žižek's words were accompanied by a vivid applause or what. You know how to do it in the communist story. Please, let's go on. Sorry. Okay.
You know, you always talk about how the leftists go crazy over some movement at some point and that they misapply an alternative society, but then they talk about it in the future as a
Yeah.
So, like, what I think is that nowadays there needs to be kind of like a, because the real socialism, project of real socialism failed.
Yeah.
And leftists are always kind of bringing that back into the picture. So, nowadays, capitalism...
But, sorry, I will immediately give you the word back. You know, the paradox is that not only it failed, but, and this is for me the ultimate perversion, in most of the countries where old communists are still in power, they are the most brutal managers of capitalism. That's the paradox. I mean, this is what I told once to Fukuyama. I said, okay, you won, but are you aware that Chinese Communist Party is the best manager of it? Sorry, please go on.
My point is that what needs to be done, in my opinion, is that we need to have new paradigms that we can maybe mystify as well, to give to the people.
No, I agree with you deeply. That is to say, first, I like that you use the word paradigm, because that's how I play with my Greek friends. I tell them the big name now is syntagma squared. You know, syntagma means in linguistics syntagma, but it's also constitution. And I told them, you need to move from syntagma to paradigma. You know, syntagma are big demonstrations. Then where is the paradigma then? Where is the new And here there is the poverty of the left, I claim.
So I was going to bring it back to the Kurdish issue and was going to say that they have a new paradigm.
Do they? I'm glad. No, it's not a cynical, skeptical question. I would like to know. Do they tell you?
They have
What is this paradigm?
I mean, it's based on my doctrine. It's called democratic confederalism. So instead of calling it socialism, they call it democratic confederalism. It's not as anti-capitalist maybe as the real socialism, but nonetheless it manages to take people behind it, you know? So it creates a mass movement and it gives purpose to the people. Which
Okay,
is
but
something-
I still am, you know, at what level skeptical? First, it would do to Kurdish people a lot of good, I don't doubt it, but what will it be anything more than just a new successful unit in global capitalism?
That was going to be the question. It's an experimental thing, it's open-minded at least.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was going to ask you what you think about the project in Rojava or what the BKK.
Well, I will not bluff my way here. I mean, I don't know enough about here, but maybe this will be an answer. I don't like the left like in Greece, that official KKP. They have also a three-letter communist party, which is a very radical Stalinist one. For them, the traitor is not Gorbachev but Khrushchev. They still celebrate, and their position is Syriza keep social democratic reformists, we should wait for the authentic proletariat revolution. I claim, yes, you wait and do nothing. I claim that today, in the situation that we are, our procedure should be this metaphor I propose. The art today is not to wait for a big radical change, but to do small steps which may even appear totally acceptable. But in reality, once you try to do this, you will have to do more and more. I will give an example here which may surprise you. I still have a certain fondness for President Obama. I know all the stupid things he did or didn't do, but the debate on universal health care that he triggered in the United States was obviously such a shock. You know, Republicans brought him to Supreme Court and so on. The greatest American actor, Chuck Norris, you remember, proclaimed him a communist or whatever. You see, in United States, to talk about universal health care, it's a very radical move. And what I like about it is that it appears a very modest gesture. You can say, wait a minute, Western Europe has it, Canada has it. That's, you know, it's like, I will give you this metaphor that I like. I like these naive science fiction stories where, as they say, you press a wrong button. You know, you think it's just one button, you press it, and then water here, everything disappears around you. It happened in one of my early books, I report on it. Sorry, it's an old story, maybe some of you know it, but it's my favorite book. Once I was with friends staying in a small flat in Paris, and there was a cold wave, everything was frozen. I went to the toilet, I flushed the water at the end. And later, it was easy to explain what was frozen, defrozen. But the effect for me was horrible. All I did is I pushed the button, the water to flush. Then the water went on, the water started to drop from the top. At the end, the whole apartment was flooded. Police had to come to take me out on their hands because they were afraid that water was already dangerous. But you see what I mean? You press something, everything falls, no? We have to find such, like in United States, this is one point. In Europe, obviously, the Greek demands were such point. And I totally agree here that what Kurds are demanding there is another such point. We should not be afraid of apparently modest demands. I learned this also from my communist past where we were, okay, not big, but small dissident, and we learned this in communism. To make, at least at the end, when nobody believed in communism, to make a big demand, end of communism, capitalism is better, you didn't risk a lot, because you threatened no one. But if you just said, that functionary should step down, we should repeal that law, a very modest thing, it was much more dangerous. You know, often apparently modest proposals are much more dangerous because they really trigger a movement. So again, in this sense, all I can say without knowing any details, because you know, I'm a decadent guy, I watch my films and so on. For me, reality is something which imitates films but fails, you know, so I cannot give a concrete judgment. But basically, I agree with you. I'm against false radicalism precisely because I am a radical. I want to, you see, the Greek Communist Party with its radicalism did nothing. Syriza, with its modesty, at least it did introduce some movement.
I came, the first comment is there was the point, Lenin. I think I see this success of the communists as
Sorry, yeah. Please.
the big international, also their song, and I think.
You mean the old communists,
yes,
international? Yes.
And the way Lenin looks like, he looks like a Tatar. And I think he...
But he was one quarter of one.
Yes, because the town he studied was Kazan, which is now the capital of the Tatarstan and so on. And I think it's also nationalism is a result of the French Revolution. And also it brings Nazis and so on. So I think it's better we leave all the nationalisms, also the ethnic nationalisms behind us.
Yeah, but you know, I see your point. But my problem is this one. From where are you saying this? For example, in ex-Yugoslavia, the Serbs, I have nothing against them, but who were the biggest nation, were also saying this because they knew if we leave this aside, they win. You know, they have. In China, the Han majority is also saying this. You know what I mean? You cannot simply leave it behind, because when you leave it behind, you have to have some common language shared medium. Who will determine that medium? Another thing I want to answer, when you said Lenin, Tatar, and so on. You know what fascinated me in Russia terribly? How, if you ask Russians where did Stalinism come from, you get two totally opposed answers. From Eurocentrics and many Western people, they claim, oh, Stalinism came because revolution happened at the wrong place. If it were to happen in Western Europe, it would have been democratic. In Russia, because of its Asiatic past, primitive people, it was that. Now it's so interesting, if you talk with conservative Russians, they give you exactly the opposite story. They say the tragedy of Russia is that every 100, 200 years, a despot wants in a brutal way to westernize, modernize. First it was Ivan Grozny, Ivan the Terrible, then it was Peter the Great, at the end it was basically Stalin. So for them, Bolshevism, communism is not authentically Russian, but it's a brutal Western modernization. And you see, so again, I think that both of them are in a way right, but I think there is, here I agree maybe with you, that there is more truth in the Western, this Russian reaction, because I never liked this racist idea of, you know, only we in the West can really understand democracy, you know, and Greeks are my mega friends now, but I must tell you that when I was in Greece 15 years ago, I will not name them, of course, some of my Greek friends, radical leftists, privately told me, like, but you know, we have to admit it. Democracy is for some people and for some others is not. And then I told him, okay, cut the bullshit, who is who? Basically, he meant it's for us Greeks, but not for the Turks, you know. I mean, it's incredible how even with leftists who appear to be so progressive or whatever, you you encounter a certain limit. You encounter a certain limit here. No? So again, I agree with you. I am totally, if you want, an internationalist. I only know that, you know, there is internationalism and internationalism. I mean, for example, and I don't care, we were a shitty nation then, but the right-wingers, even now in Slovenia, always bring out what not so much Marx and Engels wrote against Southern Slavs. Engels uses a wonderful metaphor. He says, no wonder these nations are reactionary when their very existence is a reaction, like a remainder of an ancient past, so they will have to disappear. And Engels then ironically says, because at that time they were building this, railway to Turkey, no? He said, okay, we should give them autonomy, but not the right to mess with pan-European railway to Turkey, you know. Turkey, you were the good guys, Germany was the good guys, all in between were bad guys. So, you know, like, this is one of the lessons of Hegel. Something appears a neutral universality, but then you look closely and you see that this universality is not really neutral. Another argument that you find from, it's very interesting one, because it's true, from Russians who claim that Bolshevism is not Russian. It's true, but I find this rather sympathetic. You know that if you look at the original national structure of Cheka and then NKVD, Soviet secret police, you know that at the beginning the strongest groups were Baltic people and Jews, 60-70%. Only in Stalin's time Russians became a majority there. Of course, for conservative Russians, this is the proof that, you know, Russians were the victims and so on and so on. So again, generally, I agree with you, internationalism, especially because I claim we are approaching a state where we will no longer be able to solve problems at national level. Look, I was telling this to my friends before. I spoke with that guy, Dupuy, who told me, do you know that when Fukushima exploded, for one day, Japanese government was in a panic. They thought they will have to remove the entire Tokyo area that will be too contaminated. Can you imagine how to do this? Where? It wouldn't be possible to remain on Japanese islands. Probably they would have to ask Russia for some Kamchatka or whatever. So what I'm saying is that ecological topic is one of the one of the domains where it's no longer a question of national identities. We have to do it together or we will die together. And just if I finish with this old improvisation of mine, I like ecology as an example of how ideology functions today. I don't know how much is it developed here in Turkey, but in my country, in Western Europe, America, the predominant ecological ideology is this one. It serves perfectly big capital. They tell you, don't criticize society, that's easy. Ask yourself as an individual, what did you do against ecology? Did you recycle all Coca-Cola cans? Did you put all newspapers? And this is wonderful operation. It blocks you, it makes you feel responsible personally, so that then instead of confronting the big problems, our industry and so on, you, as an obsessional, you put all the newspapers aside and so on, and then even you feel satisfied. You see, I did my duty towards Mother Nation and so on, and no one is disturbed, just you feel better and so on. No, in ecology precisely, we should not individualize it in this way, like, what did you do? No? I mean, the problem is not that, it's ridiculous to mention this. Ecology is, I think, a problem which is a mega serious problem, but at the same time full of ideology, of mystifications and so on.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm still alive, unfortunately, yes.
Well, that's actually my question.
What? How should I kill myself?
No, please don't. You're such an intense guy, and I've been listening to your lectures for years, I'm sure everyone else has. What do you do to relax?
Unfortunately, I'm not kidding. Once or a week, at least once a month, I go to emergency ward for having fake heart attacks, for having panic attacks, and so on and so on. No, it's, I'm imitating a little bit, that ridiculous racist image of a maniaco-depressive Russian. It's active, and then it's down. Well, you see me when I'm active, no? I can guarantee you that 1 hour from now, I will be in the hotel room, maybe reading a good South Korean detective novel, probably. No, seriously now, you know how I do it? I learned to disconnect, That's why I like, what's my idea of paradise? That once I flew, I don't know from what country to what, there were some flights were cancelled, and for 2 days I stayed, I think, in Los Angeles, but I didn't go to the city, at the airport, in an anonymous hotel room for 2 days. No one knew me there. It was paradise. I was just reading, listening to music, and so on, I want to be disconnected. I hate cell phones. Cell phones are for slaves. You are accessible. I connect my cell phone when I want to call others. I don't want to be disponible to others, So again, that's why I have, as you must have felt it 10 minutes ago, this aversion against engagement, No, I want to live in peace. And I hate this fake idea. This is how Bill Gates talks, like, oh my God, children are starving in Africa, how can you, and so on and so on. This may sound horrible, because of course I don't live literally. But at a certain point you should say, fuck them, even if all children in Africa drop dead, I want to relax, That's the only way to really help them. And now he's giving his secret Freemason communist sign.
Hello. Although it doesn't have any concrete solutions yet, what do you think of the Zeitgeist movement proposed by Jack Fresco and his friends?
I will tell you something horrible. I will not bluff. I bluff enough otherwise. Except knowing the names, I don't know anything about it to give a qualified judgment. I'm very narrow, I feel almost obscene mentioning politics, because when I write or talk about politics, it's all kind of a common sense. Everyone should know it. My love is with Hegelian theory, psychoanalytic theory, and so on and so on. I would love to live in a society where I wouldn't have to deal with politics, but just with totally abstract theory. So I think again we need more of that. That's why, to give to you the last provocation. I also use it. Sorry for everybody praises that statement by Marx. Thesis 11. Philosophers have only interpreted the world. The point is to change it. The greatest stupidity that was ever told. First, who were these philosophers who only wanted to interpret it? None of them. Plato wanted to change. All great philosophers have a plan how to change it. I know only one philosopher who didn't have such a plan, Hegel. And he contributed most to really change it. So I think we shouldn't be terrorized by this attitude, which is today deeply conformist, Things should be useful. No, all great inventions of humanity happened as a byproduct. You didn't tell to yourself, I want to do something useful. You just played by an idea and by some strange chance as a byproduct of.
Hello.
Huh?
Just
You will be Turkish.
I will Turkish.
Okay, sorry.
Konuyla pek ilgisi yok ama sanırım en iyi fırsat bu durumla ilgili. Kafamı karıştıran bir şey var. İdeolojilerimize uygun yaşamaya çalıştığımızda, yani Ne gibi bir örnek verebilirim? Reklam yapma amacında değilim ama işte gidip dışarıda yemek yemeye karar verdiğimizde bizim için Burger King, McDonald's gibi yerler çok daha uygun oluyor ve öğrenci yaşamına biraz daha uygun. Ama aslında düşündüğümüzde kurumsal olarak, ideoloji olarak bu şirketler tam olarak zıttımızdalar ve bizim çok da yararımıza olduğu söylenemez. Ama düşündüğünüzde işte gidip bir Adana kebap yemek varken en doğal haliyle bu çok daha pahalıya denk geliyor. Sürekli bu şekilde yaşamak da biraz zor oluyor. Ya da işte çevre dostu kalemler kullanmak. Bir markete girdiğinizde o kalem normal üretilen herhangi bir kalemden çok daha pahalıya denk geliyor. Ya da marketlerde işte organik bölümler oluyor. Sebzelerin organik olanlarını tüketmek istiyoruz. Doğru olan bu bizim, istediğimiz bu ama baktığımızda bu bir çeşit lükse dönüşüyor. Bununla ilgili ne düşünüyorsunuz? Yani sizce bu nasıl sonuçlanacak? Nasıl devam edecek? Bunu merak ediyorum. Ben teşekkür ederim.
This is a wonderful point with which if I understood you correctly, I deeply agree. Because I use this example, and I was already physically once attacked by some ecologists because of this. When I make a simple statement, and some friends of mine told me that it's even, as far as they can tell, empirically true. Namely, I claim the majority of people who buy organic apples, whatever, they don't buy it because they really believe it's better. They buy it because it makes them feel better for ideology. My God, you see, I did something for Mother Earth. I'm part of a great movement and it's an extra product. You pay more for ideological effect. Isn't it wonderful? I did something and so on. It's and here I'm evil. It's probably not true. But my idea is that, let's say I'm growing apples. First I select all the beautiful apples and I sell them as normal, corrupted, whatever. Then the half-rotten apples, I double the price and sell them as ecological apples. I always have no, it's not as simple as that, I know. But what you said, you know when you have this effect, even worse. I hate when people present to you this, they call them sustainable houses, you know, where solar electricity or... Yeah, but you know that to produce one such house, you spend more energy than the whole workers' block. I spoke with a very intelligent German ecologist, I love him, who told me, from a real ecological standpoint, the best thing would have been not these ecological houses in the middle of the forest, but people living in big crowded cities like Istanbul, all packed there. Because you know, if we are all here, we mostly pollute each other and much of nature remains clean. This ecologically correct housing, each of us a small house, we produce water from the local stream. This is ecological catastrophe, it's over. I mean, the only second thing, I think we should get rid of, no, first what you said, yes, again that, yes, definitely, that's the problem for me, not only with ecology, but even more with political correctness, for example, harassment. Of course, my God, women, minorities are harassed, I totally agree. But you know, if you visit many American academic institutions, you can see that there is a much more obscure and dark ideological dimension. When all these well-paid professors talk about harassment, they are really afraid of coming too close to lower classes, because when they talk about violence against women, talking dirty, they mean the poor people who don't have these exquisite manners and so on. So, for example, it's so